with these type of reported individuals.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Okay, you are very welcome for that. Next up, let's go to our wild card line. You are on Coast to Coast. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, George?
We are well.
Glenn?
Good evening.
My name is David from Sacramento. I just wanted to ask the question. Before the moon came into existence, do you know or do you have any information on what the Earth used as a satellite, such as Mars? Because according to the information that I have, Mars used to be our satellite for Earth.
Well, from what I understand, according to planetary or solar systemic construction, and also from information that was given to George Adamski, that the planets are formed around the sun in a balanced method, of which usually a number of 12 is congruent, 12 planets and a sun. And we have, of course, talked about 9, but there are 3 other discoveries that are beyond the furthest planet of Pluto, X, Y, and Z, as they have been designated. Right. The Soviets have reported them in the 70s, and we have talked to them about as well, and this, of course, is another issue, talking about the number of planets in our system. The information that I am aware of is that the planets are in a balanced orbit very much like a well-defined clock. And if you extract or destruct a planet from its synchronized orbit, you will set up a chain reaction which starts to cause the degradation of the rest of the planets in the solar system and also affect the balance of the sun. So there has been talk about planets wandering through a solar system, but according to the magnetic influences and how a solar system and planets stay in orbit, I have not seen any information to support that theory. I feel that everything works very finely within the balance of nature and the principles of nature and creation for a specific reason. Right. Nothing is haphazard.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to say is make a comment on is in the early 70s or late 70s, I met Captain Ed Mitchell, sit down and talk with them in a seminar called The Mind Can Do Anything.
Mm-hmm.
Good man, by the way, isn't he?
Pardon me?
He's a good man, isn't he?
Oh, yeah, he is a very humble person, and I believe to be a very, very honest and truthful person. But what I wanted to say is that a comment that he made when he went to the moon, he said that, according to a document, that there were ships up there when they went, and they gave them warning, and they told them to leave, and they got in their capsule and took off. Now, I wanted to know...
That's news to me.
Yeah, and that this is what, and it's documented. So I wanted to see if George or you had some information on that as well as a mothercraft or whatever type of ship that he reported that was up there.
Well, my feeling is that it is considered that a planet and its satellites are part of that planetary body. We would not be prevented of going to our own satellite because it falls within the realm and sphere of our planet, and our right to explore and to conduct the experiments necessary to eventually go out into deeper space. So I have not heard anything that says that we would not be allowed to go there. I would say that should we take our aggressive tendencies to some other world, then naturally they have the right to prevent that from infiltrating their system.
Excellent. Thanks for that phone call. Let's go up next to our first-time caller line. You are on Coast to Coast with Glenn Steckling. Hi there.
Hi, George. How you doing? I'm your age. I remember that, incident for the Edmund Fitzgerald, just like you described.
Yes, absolutely.
It was terrible. What I wanted to say was I've been a listener since '96, Art Bell.
Mm-hmm.
When I was out in Las Vegas on vacation, I picked him up. I've been listening ever since.
Hooked,
terrific show.
Thanks.
And you are a terrific replacement.
Thank you.
What I wanted to say was I kind of follow up on what the other caller said, kind of stole my thunder. I looked at this sci-fi show several years ago, and an astronaut by the name of Eugene Cernan, I don't know if you ever remember.
Of course.
Oh, yes.
He was an astronaut in the program, and he came on, and he said the reason we didn't go back to the moon since '69 was because when they were up there, they saw, alien crafts, which were kind of threatening them in a menacing sort of way, not doing anything, but just kind of hovering. In other words, get out of here and don't come back. That kind of stuff.
Well, did he say that, or was it reported that he said that?
He said it. I actually heard him say it.
Okay.
But he said he wasn't allowed to make it public because, they didn't want everybody to get all excited and, upset.
Yeah.
So they kept it quiet. But I did hear him say that.
That's an incredible story.
This was on the Sci-Fi Channel several years ago. They haven't repeated it since. It may have been 2 or 3 years ago.
Glenn, aware of that?
Well, I'm aware of course, astronaut Brennan, and I believe he was the last Apollo mission.
And also, Glenn, he said that other astronauts know the same thing, and they're shutting up. But he didn't want to name them.
Well, yeah, we remember we went to the moon after 1969 because we had programs all the way till Apollo 17.
Right.
Now, my question would be, what is considered to be a perception of menacing? I mean, if you... Let's put it bluntly. If you walk outside now,
right,
and a 20-mile-long spacecraft is hovering above your town, is that menacing to you, but not necessarily menacing as far as their activity? Because if we cannot control our own fears and uncertainties, then we consider the presence of something to be menacing.
Well, let me put it this way. I would still go outside and live my life after seeing that. I mean,
By the way, this is one of the things that Cernan said in 1973 in the Los Angeles Times. Says, I've been asked about UFOs, and I've said publicly I thought they were somebody else, some other civilization. That's pretty remarkable stuff.
Well,
I heard,
And here's also a quote from Brian O'Leary. Contacts between extraterrestrials seem to have been going on for decades, and we still don't want to admit it. And also Gordon Cooper, in a very early interview in 1976, said, intelligent beings from other planets regularly visit our world in an effort to enter into contact with us. I've encountered various ships during my space voyages. NASA and the American government know this and possess a great deal of evidence. Nevertheless, they remain silent in order to not alarm the people. And then they asked them what they looked like, and they said they look just like you and I, no different.
Wow. That I didn't hear.
Not at all.
That was on Merv Griffin.
Okay, I appreciate it. By the way, still getting lots of fast blasts now from Oklahoma, Glenn, that they've seen some large triangular-shaped object. And Robert out there in Arlington, Texas, is going crazy here. He says, look, I've been a combat veteran and everything else, and he said this thing went right over my house. Robert, I believe you. I believe you, but somebody get a picture of this thing.
I recently received a document, and I have not been able to authenticate the validity of it, but it talks about research and development by us of a craft called a TR-3B, which is a triangular craft. And it says that it is much more sophisticated than the Aurora program, and it is also some of the sightings that were made or being perpetrated as some of the sightings that were made over Phoenix and Belgium those years when they were reporting several of these triangular craft in formation hovering. So that's another piece to the puzzle.
Clock ticks, Glenn. The book, we got a few more minutes, but we'll take a few more calls. But tell us a little bit more. Alien Bases on the Moon 2. Where can one get it?
You can get it directly from us. As I mentioned before, you can find that address on the website so we don't burn too much time here. Or you can order it directly from Borders or Baker & Taylor, Amazon.com.
They all have it. Let's go to our wild card line. Welcome to Coast to Coast. Hi there.
Hey, it's exciting. I got through, and I'll make it quick.
Sure.
A guy at NASA who I met through nothing related to NASA was just sharing different things to me, and about spacecrafts and what have you. And he said back and this was 1986, and I was sent on assignment and met this guy. So it was before 1986, just to give you a point of reference, that when the tiles fell off the shuttle.
Yeah.
And he said during a press conference, one of the press reporters asked, how do you know what number the tile is? And they said, well, we took a picture of it. And he said the NASA guy should not have said that, but it just kind of went over everybody's head and they didn't pay attention. I was telling this story to a guy who was a former fighter pilot, and as soon as I said that, he said, well, I guess they knew that they were going to burn up, meaning that if we could take pictures of the little number on the tiles back pre-1986, that this shuttle that burnt up, they obviously had pictures and knew how bad it was.
Well, that's a possibility. I personally feel that, according to the launch protocols, that there's a requirement for systems checks